Okay, you want to work in the unit plans working view because the work plane will be active and anything you draw will be on the correct level, the unit cloud level. You can get rid of that. That's just to indicate which unit you can change. You need to know that when we group this is as one technique for populating the model. Groups is one technique. You should only go one level deep, not groups within groups. You should always define the same origin for the group so that if it's already in the project, it's being placed at the same location throughout the project and not going to shift in any way. The alternative to using groups would be to use a linked apartment unit. That will be covered later. There are some rules that we have to follow in creating this. We don't actually need the walls that represent either, say, the division between a corridor space and the apartment itself. All we need are the walls that are inside here. And we want those walls to be non-room bounding. So that's one thing, because it's a strange concept, but the object known as a room inside Revit would be better known as an activity. And the room that we want to create is going to be the overall volume of the apartment. In other words, the activity that we are trying to define is the volume of the actual apartment unit. So all the interior walls here, you would want to make sure that these are non-room bounding. We can put them into the project and then, we've got the physical room, physical doors and so on, but you want to make sure those are not room bounding. We also want to make sure that where they meet a wall here, that they're not extending in to the wall. We want to actually say disallow joint and then move that back to the face so that if this wall is missing, this adjoining wall is not anywhere other than on the face of this. We also want to check the height. It should be, set to what the real height is in the project. So I'm going to make those changes where I turn everything that's inside to, in terms of walls, to be non-bounding. And the idea is that if we are defining a room, if I just drop that in there, you see I'm not getting situations like that. They have to be non-bounding, so I see the crosshairs going all the way through the object. And these are going to be inside the group that we're going to create. So let me just drop that in there at the moment. And if I tab over it, you can see that, okay, I don't have the right conditions. So what I'm going to do is make sure these are non-room bounding. You can move this around a bit just to make sure that the crosshairs are going all the way across. So if I've met all the conditions, I've got this, it's passing through every interior wall that's there, and it's stopping against the demising wall. Then I want to make a group. I can get rid of the label. I don't need the label. I'm going to leave but I'm going to leave the room in there. And what I want to do is I'm going to make sure I don't have a group here. So this was the conceptual. I'm deleting that. I made a note that the origin was down here. I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to use the filter, and I can just verify I've got one room and I've got all of this. Now, like I said, you can include these other objects, but I want to exclude So I'm going to use the Shift key. I don't want the demising walls, and I've made sure I've got the conditions. The walls are to the actual height. The interior walls are non-room bounding, and where the walls meet the demising walls, they are edited so that they are not connecting with it, but all of these edges are drawn so the edge of the wall is against the face of the demising wall. So there's my content. I can then go to create group. I'm going to call that 1b.0. I'm going to call that 1b.0. And now I've grouped the objects. By default, the group insertion point is in the center of the geometry, and what I want to do is just drag that down to that bottom left corner so it was in the same location. So snap end to the geometry that's down there. You could also have used room separating lines, and you could have brought in a DWG file and drafted over the top of it, but the exercise was just to create that one group. So the idea would be now if the idea is just to create that one group according to certain rules. So the benefit to you is that by creating the apartments in this way as a group with rooms, you're going to make it possible to run a script to calculate occupancy.